Good morning, my friends. Let's talk about my performance at the Show Me State Games in Missouri. First of all, it has been a slam bam weekend. It's actually one of the peak weekends I've had in my life in terms of personal growth, and let me explain why. First of all, I've been doing an online course for a stress management coach from Udemy, which that may not seem like much, and some of you laugh at Udemy, but here's what I'll tell you. In the state of Missouri, both my Udemy hypnotherapist certification and my stress management coach certification are valid. Okay, they're valid in the state to practice because there is not a lot of regulation on the two professions. For any type of coaching, life coaching, things like that, there almost is no regulation. But it's always good to have a certification, always good to do a course of study. And for hypnotherapy, they want you to have some kind of certification, that shows that you took a course. But there is no need for a state board and things like that. So that's valid, and I'm going to try and build that business. Also, I did the Scottish Rite. It's called a online cinematic reunion. Scottish Rite has things called reunions, and that's basically where the activity goes. Of course, I can't tell you about all the things that go into it, the little details, and even some of the names, but there are 32 degrees. I'm now a 32nd degree Scottish Rite Freemason, which is something I can add on top of my Freemasonry training and education and go looking for further light and education in Freemasonry. So that is a peak deal. The only way to go higher, like if you want a 33rd degree Mason, you can't apply for it, you can't talk about it, you can't pay for it and ask for it. Someone has to recommend you. Actually, the Freemasons around you in your part of Freemasonry have to recommend you for great service and things like that. And if you ask for it, you're disqualified for life. If you try to apply, talk to your fellows about it, electioneer about it, offer people money for it, you are disqualified. It's an honor you can only get if the rest of the Scottish Rite Freemasons, who are also all Masons, think you are worthy of it. So that's it. I stopped looking for higher degrees and honors in Freemasonry. Just try to be good. Try to be awesome at what I do and improve myself in the world. Help other people. Help people with charity, brotherhood, promoting freedom, promoting liberty, helping the oppressed, helping the orphans and the widows and things like that. And, forget about asking for honors, working for honors. Just be honorable, and if it comes to me, it comes to me. That's a peak experience for me, okay? And I will tell you, if you're a Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Jew, Hindu, paganist, whatever religion you belong to, unless you believe in spreading evil like many Satanists are supposed to be, they kind of promote selfishness and what everybody else would call evil. If you practice a religion that promotes hurting other people, like I guess like ancient Aztec religion, you're not going to like Freemasonry. But if you're a monotheist, if you believe in the Abrahamic religions, if you believe in the Eightfold Noble Path of Buddha, if you believe in Hinduism and Ahimsa, to do no harm, Freemasonry is compatible with you. If you are a Republican or Democrat or Independent, Freemasonry is compatible with you. Okay? And you can't apply for it. A Freemason can't go up to you and say, "Hey, you want to be a Freemason? Give me $100. Hey, want to be a Freemason? Do this for me." We can't. Okay? If you study up on the history of Freemasonry and you talk to Freemasons, you can ask one about it. All right? So it's a very unique organization, and I'm so happy I've been doing it. I've been doing it since 2018, and it's been almost completely nothing but rewarding. There's always setbacks and downsides, but it's just been an incredible experience, and I'm hoping it continues to be an incredible experience. And then on top of that, the same weekend that, I went through all that, Saturday morning I competed in the Missouri Show Me State Games. They had an executive division that was 50 and over. I'm 54, and I did weapons, forms, and fighting. So let's talk about my results. By and large, it was a pretty cool tournament. There's not a lot of participation. There's a tournament called the Ozark State Games. Last year it was held at the same day as the Missouri Show Me State Games, and that detracted from participation. And this year it was the weekend before, which, a lot of people probably already felt competed out and paid out. So it was about the same level of participation. There weren't a lot of people there. But I've been told in the past there were hundreds of people here. And last year I spectated and I said, is this sport dying? Is traditional martial arts dying? And certainly there was people my age, but in general there wasn't a lot of black belts and there wasn't a lot of competitors. I'm like, I'd be stupid not to compete. It's a mathematical certainty I would place. Second of all, I would be supporting traditional martial arts with my money and my participation. And we started out, it was a very different scoring system than I'm used to. The scoring starts at a 7.5 and terminates at 9.5 and terminates at a 9.9. So there is no 9.4 and below. There is no perfect 10. It's not a 10-point scale. I'd never encountered that before. Sparring is whoever reaches 7 points first or until the 2-minute clock runs out. If it's tied at the end of 2 minutes, they do a 1-minute sudden death overtime. And I've never ever trained in point sparring. It's not my thing. I'll give you an example of why. My co-black belt at Golden Eagle Karate, the late Ed Youngsa, we were both 4th degree black belts in that system. He went and he competed in everything. He won sparring championship at Battle of Atlanta. I mean, he has so many medals and trophies in sparring, it's ridiculous, right? When I took my 4th degree black belt test with him, it was simply a full contact sparring match. And, I had him up against the wall, was peppering his face with jabs and crosses and the Wing Chun straight blast. And at one point he covered up and I threw a left roundhouse kick to his head. And I decided to pull it because I knew I would hurt him. Okay? And to be honest with you, and I don't do a lot of sparring, but he's just really expert at point sparring and not so adept at full contact sparring, and it's just the way it is. So I had to make a choice of what do I learn. So I never really devoted a lot of time to point sparring. But let me break down how the competition went. The black belts went first in forms and weapons so we could be free to judge, and they did help me judge. So first we did weapons forms first, and I did a double butterfly sword form. It's a form that I created and synthesized out of mixing Silam Kung Fu and Filipino martial arts. There was only one other person in my age bracket. She was a female. She was quite good. She did a bow staff, an Okinawan bow staff, kata. And, so I'm the gold medalist in men's weapons form for the state of Missouri for this year in my age bracket. All right. So it was more of an exhibition competition than a runoff because we were in separate divisions, but it's always good to compete against someone. Then we did empty hand kata, and she did kusanku. And I did a hungar form. I did fukfu. But what I did was, in the beginning, I added the beginning horse dance qigong section of gongji, all right, which I felt would have been a great introduction. So it was a blend of gongji and fukfu, but it wasn't gongji fukfu. The combining of the two forms is sometimes done. I feel very confident in that. And the reason why is because the breathing kata at the beginning of gongji, or taolu in Chinese, I practice all the time, even if I'm not practicing forms or even if I'm sick or tired. It's a great health benefits. And fukfu, of all the Silam Forms is probably my doggone favorite. It's got techniques that just resonate with me, and there's a lot of ha and wah and seat. There's a couple kicks in there, so I substituted. There's a back leg side kick that I turned into a high roundhouse kick, which I felt better showed my ability, and so I have my second gold medal in empty hand forms at the Show Me State Games. They consistently marked her at a 9.9 and me in a 9.8. There was one judge there, only one judge that had any experience judging what they call soft styles. And he actually talked to me. He's like, you soft stylists, you really deserve your own division. You can't really compare a Shotokan kata, a Shotokan bow kata, and a Shotokan empty hand kata to what you were doing. I've seen Hungar, you did it very well. And, he gave me some positive feedback, but he's like, if the tournament were bigger and if it was run a little differently, you would have your own division. I said, I understand. This is what I've done my whole life. Most karate judges have zero experience judging this stuff, and they kind of can't judge it because they don't understand what they're looking for, and they will often misjudge it. So I'm happy, Again, gold medal. It's a gold medal. It says Show Me State Games. Well, the reason why I think this is more significant than even competing in the Ozark State Championships, and even though that probably would have been more difficult, but the reason this is important is because this is state sponsored and state recognized. Okay, it's the state version of the Olympics, and you hardly ever have that in any martial art competition, even professional title fights. Whereas the state amateur athletic unions and organizations often coalesce with the state for basketball, for wrestling, for Olympics. And when you go overseas to compete, you're recognized as representing your country. So I represented my town and my city and my state here, as well as my styles. Okay. Then I went on to judging, and I find judging sparring here a little bit different. There was a lot of points that I felt judges were awarding for, you hear a lot of thump when a kid brings his hand down to block, and to me it looked like it impacted on the arm, and I was going no score, and he would immediately, other judges would call it. There were two other black belts there. One was 12 and one was 16 from the ATA. They were sisters. They were Indian American. They were extremely good. I felt that, I think her name was Gia, black belt Gia, she's second degree in ATA. I felt she was getting cheated out of some incredible points. I mean, she would spin around and do a spinning hook kick, tap that headgear and bring her head back with zero force transfer, but there would be a touch, and they would not call that as a point. And I actually brought that up earlier in the black belt meeting for judging, because I said, what about hook kicks? And from what I can tell, nobody at the Show Me Games knows how to judge hook kicks and spinning hook kicks properly. Sometimes people will throw a hook kick over the person's head to show that they could have landed it, but that they're using control, or they'll bring it right in front of the person's head and they won't score it. So they'll be like, okay, I'll brush their hairline, or I'll tap the side, but then oftentimes someone's moving in, and a spinning hook kick is one of the hardest hitting techniques in the martial arts today. I've seen so many knockouts with it, so many injuries. I injured someone pretty badly with it once, and I still feel bad about it. And most people can't judge it or score it, and there's no recognized scoring criteria. So, we did our judging, and then sparring began. It came time to spar, and there was nobody in my age bracket. So they said, we'll have an exhibition match with you with someone who's in their 40s. There's nobody in his age bracket. I said, okay, I'll consent to that. That sounds fine. One thing I didn't like about the tournament is some of the behavior of the younger black belts, which I'm going to mention in a follow-through video. But I will mention that, I actually did spar, and I do have a gold medal in sparring. But we're going to talk about that in my follow-through video part 2.